Good afternoon. We'll now call this meeting to order. I believe it's 6:02. It's 6 o'clock even, and we have on the agenda 2 public hearings. Mr. County Administrator, I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the first public hearing on the adoption of the FY 2023-2024 tentative millage rates and tentative budgets. We'll kind of want to dribble the clock out here a little bit because the chairman has an official segment here to read into the record. And with that, Madam Chair, I may hand this off to you. If you could just read the first part of it, I'll pick up on the second part.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. This is the first of 2 required public hearings on the Leon County budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. The second and final public hearing will be Tuesday, September 26, 2023 at 6 o'clock p.m. If you wish to speak in person, please complete a speaker's card and turn it into the clerk. Citizens who register to provide virtual comments will be asked to speak prior to the commission taking votes on the millage rates and on the budget. Now, the County Administrator, Mr. Vincent Long, will read the millage rate into the public record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you all know, Commissioners, we're pretty strictly scripted when it comes to this item each year. With that, I will read the proposed aggregate millage rate is 9.0644 mils, which is 6.83% over the aggregate rolled back millage rate of 8.484 mils. Ad valorem revenues will increase due to an upturn in property values and a 0.25 increase in the EMS MSTU. This increase will be used to support sustaining a high quality level of essential services and county-wide services, including ambulance services. Commissioners, you have provided the necessary guidance during the development of the tentative budget, and all the direction provided in the various agendas and workshops during the budget process have been included in the 2024 tentative budget. However, if you still desire, staff is prepared to provide a brief presentation on the budget. With that, Chairman, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Vice Chair, for standing in for me there. At this time, I will, the individuals that are appearing in person and virtually are allowed to speak. Are there any speakers on the item?
None.
All right. Florida statute requires that the board to address the millage rate before addressing each budget. The board must...
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. We had one turned in on item 40.
Okay. All right. You want to go ahead and say that, Speaker?
Mr. Stanley Simmons.
Mr. Sims, name the record, please.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Administrator, and Madam Attorney, full disclosure, I'm cheating tonight. 30 years ago, I married a beautiful woman, and today is her birthday. She's sweet 16. I don't try to do the math. When you're married, the math just works for you. So I've just got to kind of get out of here right quick. But I want to say something on 2 items. You're right, Mr. Administrator. I spoke to Matt. This county did an awesome job with hurricane recovery. You are prepared to help us. Only thing that I'm asking now, if that we would kind of now, and I had a deep conversation with Matt, I think that if we can focus our energies on helping citizens prepare themselves for hurricanes, disaster, will be so much better. I live directly behind Buckley Elementary School. I've got 2 dead trees in my backyard that I watched all night long and prayed that they didn't fall. To the glory of God, they did not fall. But when Matt said that the trees were literally falling into the trucks, that's a blessing. And that's something that I saw, because when they failed, they came. And Mr. Long, this ain't an east side thing. I had calls from off Putman, off of the south side, over off of Ridge Road. We good. We good over here, Mr. Sims. But here's the problem now. In my neighborhood, I've got trees that are slanted in my neighbor's yards that are not on the easement, not in the curve, but they are hazardous. Matt has told me of some options that we are doing to address this. But here are some things that I want to preen you about. What about a hurricane recovery account for citizens that own their own property, that are account of $500 or $1,000, that if you need water, you need to spend the night at a hotel, you need to remove a tree, then that count is there and it's attached to your tax base. You can buy a generator. These are the type of things now that our citizens are facing. Again, I want to say thank you so much for what you have done. And Mr. if you just give me 1 minute.
You got time?
Okay. All right. My second thing was, hold on. I look 21, but I ain't been 21 in a long time. Your issues on trees. You're getting ready to form a commission about trees. I also own a little piece of property off of Mickasega Road. Don't let this dress fool you. I ain't rich. But trees, there has to be a balance. And I think on this board, if you load this board up with tree lovers, you're going to make my life miserable. So I think that there'll be a balance on this board, because I've lived on Mickasega Road, and we don't have to have a hurricane for dangerous trees to fall. So I'm just asking that there be, some good public thinking. I spent a lot of time. I give long ideas. I call FSU softball coach when she helps me out. I help everybody be great in this county. So I'm just want to just spread my love out to this and pray for my wife. It ain't easy living with me over 30 years.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. Happy birthday to your beautiful bride. Yes, sir. You better get out of here. I'm sure you were already late. There are no more speakers. Good. So I have to read each one, right? All right. So the board must vote on each millage rate and budget separately. I will now entertain the following motions. For one, adopt via attached resolution the tentative FY 2023-2024 countywide millage rate of 8.3144 mills.
A second.
Motion by Commissioner O'Keefe, seconded by the Vice Chair. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Adopt via attached resolution the tentative FY 2023-2024 countywide budget. What do I do?
Procedurally, some recusals.
Oh, that's right. Hold on. Actually, I have to recuse myself from this one. Anybody else need to recuse? Oh, wait, look at there. Commissioner Minor, you first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On option 2, I have a conflict because of my wife's consulting contract with Whole Child Leon, a not-for-profit agency to perform marketing, communications, and board engagement services. Accordingly, I must abstain from voting on the line item for Whole Child Leon in the general fund budget, and request that the vote for this line item be bifurcated so that I may vote on the remainder of the budget.
Okay. So, trying to figure out how to do this. Commissioner Gabay, do you have a conflict as well?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In our July meeting, I recused myself for perception of a conflict in regards to the children being an advisory board, on the advisory board for the Children's Home Society, which is receiving funds in this budget. As of yesterday, I no longer have a perception of a conflict. I tendered my resignation to the advisory board.
Cool.
So I just want to put that on the record. Thank you.
All right. So this is what we're going to do. All right. We're going to have 3 separate votes. I have a conflict due to my employment with the Big Bend Homeless Coalition, aka Family Promise of the Big Bend. Accordingly, I must abstain from voting on the line item for the Big Bend Homeless Coalition, Family Promise of the Big Bend, in the general fund budget, and request that the vote for the line item be bifurcated so that I may vote on the remainder of the budget. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go first. So, Madam, I'm looking for a motion for the rest of the budget. Whoa.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
why don't I make a motion that would bifurcate those two line items? One for Whole Child Leon, removing that from the general fund budget, and the other part of the motion be removing your Big Bend Homeless Coalition line
Actually,
item from the general fund budget?
3. So we would need to bifurcate Children's Home Society.
He doesn't need it anymore.
Okay, okay.
It's just you and me.
Okay, so those two. So Commissioner Myers is making a motion that we approve the budget bifurcating Old Child Leon and Family Promise of the Big Bend.
Correct.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Are we ready then, right? All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye, not opposed, no comment, we're good.
Okay, what's your comment?
Just, if we know these ahead of time, perhaps our staff recommendation could have these specified out, since we might repeat, if that's possible, some of these recusals each budget year.
Yeah, that's a little bit hard to do that.
Point of clarification, so each commissioner has to disclose their conflict on the record, but it's their conflict to announce. So I would say it would be presumptuous of staff to build in those recusals into the options in the budget.
Right.
That I understand.
So now what I'll do is I'll look for a motion for funding of Whole Child Leon within the FY 2023-2024 budget. Is there a motion to that effect? Moved by Commissioner Welch, seconded by Commissioner Caban. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
And then one of.
And recusal.
I'm recusing.
So 6-0-1 with Commissioner Minor recusing. Now I'll hand over the gavel to the Vice Chair to handle the motion in reference to, or I can't handle the motion.
You cannot make,
No, I can't handle it. I can't be involved.
yeah, I would.
Yeah, so I hand you the gavel.
With regards to Whole Child Leon.
No, this is Family Promise of Big Bend. Big Bend Homeschool.
Madam Vice Chair, I would make a motion to approve the line item for Big Bend Homeless Coalition in the general fund budget.
Is there a second? Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Thank you.
Motion passes 6-0-1 with Maddox and recusal. All right, the next one is adopt via attached resolution. Thank you, Madam Attorney. The tentative FY 2023-2024 Emergency Medical Services MSTU millage rate of 0.75 mils.
I so moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by the Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but don't we have to have a final motion on the general fund budget
I think
that did not have the line items for Whole Child Leon and Big Bend Homeless Coalition?
we did that first.
That was
did
the
that.
first one.
Oh, the very first one?
Okay,
Okay,
first
got it. All right, my mistake.
Is there a motion to that effect for item 3?
I moved it, Mr.
Yes.
Chair.
Motion made for item number 3.75 on the MSTU. Is there a second? Seconded by O'Keefe. Any objection? Seeing none, short as approved unanimously. Item 4, adopt via attached resolution the tentative FY 2023-2024 budget emergency medical services MSTU budget. Is there a second? Motion made by O'Keefe. Is there a second?
I second, Mr.
Seconded by the
Chair.
Vice Chair. Any objection? Seeing none, short as approved. Item 5, and finally, I will now entertain a motion to direct staff to advertise in accordance with the Florida statute the tentative millage rate and the budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 and the date, time, and place of the public hearing to adopt the final millage rate and budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. Item number 5 is moved by Commissioner Myers. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by the Vice Chair. Any objection? Short is approved unanimously. We'll move now to the next item, which is item number 41, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This item seeks the board's approval to conduct the first and only public hearing to approve the non-ad valorem assessment rule for local provider participation fund non-ad valorem assessment based on changes to federal law. This program was established several years ago at the request of our local hospitals to assist them in drawing down additional federal Medicaid dollars. Commissioners, the special assessments are levied on each hospital based on their annual net patient revenue. The funds are then used to match, to draw down additional Medicaid dollars for the hospitals. We're recommending options 1 through 3, and we have no speakers on this item.
Is there a motion for staff recommendation?
I move, Mr. Chair.
Moved by the Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Welch. Commissioner Proctor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. County Administrator, if Florida was to accede and agree to receiving Obamacare for our state, approximately how much money additionally, if we extended Medicaid and those dollars, and more specifically, how much by the failure of our state and its disinterest in receiving dollars earmarked for our state would our county receive?
You know, if you'd asked me that question when those decisions were made by the state of Florida not to participate, I probably would have known. I'm looking at Alan. We don't have a number for you at this point in time, but we can get that to you.
Okay. I think that it's very important that the citizens know that our federal government is making available to us monies to allow for poor people to see the doctor, and our state is blocking the access of Leon County residents. And I am particularly concerned that our state government is fighting the citizens of District 1, and a large share of those people would qualify for this kind of aid that our federal government is extending. Earlier, our county administrator told us the effective workings between federal, state, and local government with respect to storm management, FEMA's intervention, and those things. The President of the United States came down to Florida last week and showed support. Federal aid was put in place, and it galls me that that level of cooperation, that was the word that Vince used, cooperation, has been achieved for picking up sticks and bricks. But when it comes to flesh and blood, our state and our local government does not interface and work as cooperatively. And bricks and sticks matter, but flesh and blood matter more. And I needed to say that before I took this vote, that we be apprised that more could occur if our state government would only cooperate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Meyer, you're in queue. You good? You're in queue.
No,
Okay. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries without objection. Motion made by the Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Welch. All right. Item number 37, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, you may recall from our May meeting, the youth advocacy group known as Gen Cleo requested the board to adopt a resolution declaring a climate emergency. At the board's direction, since that time, staff's worked closely with the group to share the details of our programs and policies that have positioned Leon County well in our sustainability and climate mitigation efforts. The proposed resolution represents the objectives of the Gen Cleo advocacy group and is now consistent with the programs and policies of Leon County government, which reflect best practices in the field of sustainability. Of course, all of this is detailed extensively in the agenda item materials, and Maggie Terrio, our Director of the Office of Resource Stewardship, is here to answer any questions you might have. With that, we are recommending option 1. We do have several speakers on this item. Madam Chair, if you like, if it's the pleasure of the board, I will go to our Zoom speakers first. And the first speaker we have is Laura Gessman. Laura Gessman, are you on the line? Zoom caller Taylor Wolford. Do we have Taylor Wolford on the line? No other Zoom callers, Alan? No other Zoom callers on the line? We can come back to that if we get an indication that we've got someone on the line. With that, I'll go to our speakers in attendance today. The first one that we have is, I believe it's, and pardon me if I get your name wrong, I think it's Kaylin Burns?
Carolyn Burns?
Sorry about that.
No worries, I believe it's supported.
Thank you. Samantha Caddis?
Samantha Cadis, 1767 Hermitage Boulevard. Good afternoon. Well, now evening, commissioners. When I wrote this speech, I wrote good afternoon. I am absolutely thrilled to be here, and I am equally excited that our youth is here to watch this moment for Leon County. I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to every commissioner for taking their time to meet with Gen Cleo youth and listen to our worries. I only joined this journey of this resolution since January, and I have genuinely learned so much from all of you, county staff like Maggie, and my fellow Gen Cleo members. It is truly gratifying that you have all allowed myself, Nia, and our Gen Cleo membership to actively participate in this democratic process as we advocate for our concerns. I worry, we Gen Cleo worry, and our youth across the world worry because we are ultimately the ones inheriting an environment filled with long-term irreversible effects. To not repeat the language of the resolution over and over, I want to simply say that we aspire to secure the best possible future for our generation and those of our children. What keeps me going during this movement is knowing that at the end of the day, we all live on planet Earth, we all drink water, and we all need air to breathe. Up until now, I've not found anyone yet to argue with me against those environmental statements. But the environment does not pick or choose its favorites or singles others out. We are all in this together. This is why we, the youth, want to provide guiding goals to the County Commission to help us inherit a cleaner world, a safer world, a more self-sustaining world. If we do our part and truly come together to create a greener future, our county can become one of the most resilient in the state and become an example for other municipalities to follow. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Nia Ogletree.
Good evening. My name is Nia Ogletree. I reside at 8146 Chris Lane. Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I just want to acknowledge all of our supporters over here and our youth members that we have here today and those that had to leave early because it is 6 o'clock. But they're here with us in spirit. This is just the proof to me that we are headed in the right direction in Leon County, and the passing of this climate emergency resolution shows that we are indeed heading in that right direction. Climate change is a huge and broad issue, as I'm sure you all know. We're a small municipality, but we're still involved, and climate change is going to involve so many different parts of our lives and our environment, and it'll also affect all of us differently. So that's why this resolution is so important to me, because it does acknowledge that, and it means that we can work towards protecting our planet and protecting our people. So I am incredibly grateful for all of the commissioners' feedback and cooperation throughout this effort in the last several months, every single one of you, as well as the county staff that have worked with us. We thank you for your support throughout the process to finalize the resolution. But also, our work doesn't end here. This isn't going to be the last you see of us. We just have to continue to keep pushing on environmental issues like water quality that's been brought up today at Lake Munson, and even encouraging individuals, to take action on sustainability, as well as our governmental bodies to make changes. So, in short, we look forward to continuing working with you all and continuing to strive for the necessary climate action in our community for the sake of our future. And again, thank you all.
Thank you. The next speaker, Alexandra Holliday. Okay. This one's a test for me, but I think it's Josela Alvizores. Sorry in advance.
No worries. Good evening. 833 West Jefferson Street. Gisela Alvisures, Gisela. No worries. So, good evening, commissioners. I want to start off by expressing my gratitude with working with such an inspiring group of youth, and as well as the support shown for this cause. On top of this, thank you, commissioners, for working with Jen Cleo and meeting with us. And I wanted to give a special thank you to Nia and Sam for taking me along every step of the way throughout this journey toward a more sustainable county. So, addressing climate change is not only an immense responsibility, but an opportunity. An opportunity that Leon County has obtained through listening to the visionary goals within this document. Here, I speak not as an individual, I speak as a voice for the communities that are at the front line of environmental issues, a voice for these communities, a voice for my family, my grandparents whose sole base income is based in agriculture and the long hours that they work under the scorching heat. Myself and Jen Cleo members made sure to mention goals that extend towards incorporating our beautiful local biodiversity. Along with this, as well as sustainable measures within our county. The decisions we make today, they also echo in the future. They echo for younger generations, my generations, and future generations. Thank you for your consideration and attention towards building a more sustainable county and a sustainable future for all, because the actions that we take today influence the actions that will appear tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Sebastian Harsis. Final speaker, Maya Schennenfeld. Okay, that concludes our speakers.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that we accept staff recommendation to approve resolution.
Motion been made by Commissioner O'Keefe, seconded by Commissioner Minor. Any comment? Commissioner O'Keefe.
Just briefly, I would like to thank both our staff, especially Maggie and the folks with Jen Cleo, for working so well together to build on our success and our commitment to being the head of the pack on environmental responsibility. And I'm really excited that we're going to have further youth input in our sustainability summits and in our community stakeholder groups because they really are the group that will be most affected by this, and I think it's a perspective that we need as much as possible to treat this with the urgency it's required. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries 6-1. All right, next item, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is an enabling resolution to establish the Miccosukee Canopy Road Greenway Citizens Committee. This item requests the board's adoption of a resolution establishing the committee to update the Greenway Master Plan. Pursuant to Florida statutes, our land management plan must be updated every 10 years with the input of a citizens committee, which consists of community members, professional stakeholders, county and state staff, and a county commissioner. As a result, this item seeks the board appointment of one county commissioner to serve on the committee. The proposed 14-member committee will be a focus group made up of 11 individuals representing organizations mandated by the state and 3 additional organizations recommended due to their historic involvement and expertise with the Miccosukee Greenway. With that, commissioners, we are recommending options 1 and 2, and we have no speakers on this item.
Thank you. So I need to, options 1 and 2, and with option 1 and 2 also appoint a commissioner?
Yes, that's option 2 would be to appoint one commissioner specifically.
Any nominations, volunteers?
District Commissioner, I nominate.
Motion made for Commissioner Welch to be the commissioner.
Actually runs between us.
Which one of y'all?
I second.
We don't have to fight for it, but I'm happy to serve on this if you're not interested.
Motion made for Commissioner O'Keefe, seconded by the Vice Chair. Commissioner O'Keefe nominates, Commissioner Proctor nominated Commissioner O'Keefe, seconded by the Vice Chair. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, motion for option number one.
I so move. Options
Option
one and
number
two.
one's been moved by
Option
Commissioner Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Proctor. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, the final item tonight seeks the board's full consideration of appointments to the citizen appointments to the Animal Shelter Board, the Board of Adjustment Appeals, and the Leon County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. Options 1 through 4 seek your action. Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I can walk through. Option 1 seeks the board's appointment of 2 citizens for the Animal Shelter Advisory Board. Eligible applicants are listed there before you. And again, we're seeking 2 citizens, and it appears that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 eligible applicants.
So appointee Jamie Rager would like to be reappointed. And we need one more appointee as the second appointee has resigned. Yes.
I'd like to move, reappoint Jamie Clift Rager and appoint Tori Schneider.
Who's the second? Oh, Tony Schneider. Okay. All in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Option 2, Commissioners, it seeks your guidance in the appointment of 1 citizen, James Pfeiffer, to the county alternate seat on the Board of Adjustment and Appeals for the remainder of an unexpired term.
All right. Is there a motion? So moved. Moved by Commissioner Welch, seconded by the Vice Chair. Any objection? Motion carries. No objection.
Option 3 seeks your ratification of the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls appointment of 3 citizens listed before you to the Leon County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls for a 2-year term.
All right. So it looks like we have a reappointment: Kimberly Berry, Kay Meyer, and Morgan Danny Burton. Is there a motion to such?
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry.
I move.
Mr. Minister.
Just going to note that with the note there that should the board choose to appoint Dr. McKendrick, that it would be necessary for the board to waive the conflicting employment relationship disclosure form included by a 2/3 vote.
Motion to waive.
So move to waive.
Moved by Commissioner Minor, seconded by Commissioner Welch. Any objection? Seeing none, show it as approved. Now, can I have a motion for
Dr. McKendrick.
Dr. McKendrick, Kimberly Berry, Kay Meyer, and Morgan Danny Burton?
I move.
Motion
Those
made by the Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Welch. Any objection? Seeing none, show it as approved. Like that? All right. Anything else on the agenda, Mr. Administrator?
That concludes your general business agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Any citizens to be heard on non-agenda items?
We have 2 cards in, calling Spencer Leone Bio.
Here he comes. Name and address for the record, please, sir. You get 3 minutes.
Evening, Spencer Leone Brass, 2020 West Pensacola Street. As a stakeholder of the Pensacola Street community, we're suffering every day with robberies, assaults, burglaries, stalking, and murders. I come before you tonight to demand the end of this rhetoric. Our businesses, tenants, and customers can no longer take every single day being in fear for our lives as we try to build something for the city of Tallahassee and Leon County to be proud of. The excuse that there is not room in the jail simply is not valid. Billions and billions of dollars are spent every year between the city, the county, and Blueprint. There is a way to find monies to give law enforcement agencies of this community the resources they need to be able to be successful in their policing and to keep the community safe. I want to bring to your attention the Social 2700. It's an apartment complex that sits on Pensacola Street with 250 units. The property was built and sold in 2006 for $29 million, bringing a tax revenue to the city of Tallahassee and Leon County for a little over $300,000. In 2017, this property sold for $9 million. It reduced the tax revenue to the city of Tallahassee and Leon County to a little over half, $170,000. His property today should be worth upwards of 60 or 70 million, providing a tax revenue to the city of Tallahassee and Leon County of a little over $1 million. If you take this instance and you replicate it multiple times in our communities along Pensacola Street, North Monroe, and other areas, I think the reason why there is always questions about money is very, very clear. This is being repeated time and time again. Businesses are losing tens of thousands of dollars a month in robberies, private security, repairs, burglaries, and the lack of revenues by people not feeling safe enough to patronize or live in certain locations. You all have an inherent responsibility to protect the members of this community and to give everyone a safe place to give an education. The west side of campus specifically is where students are to be through the university transition zoning. This is not only a city issue, this is a county issue as well. And tonight is the night that this must come to an end. You all need to stand up, you all need to come together, you need to strategize, and you need to work toward common sense solutions before simply the demise is too late. The demise of property values, the demise of safety, and the demise of the overwhelming feeling of insecurity needs to end tonight. The alarm has been sounding for a very long time, but it's now sounding louder than ever. I leave you all with this. A great leader is not defined by what they do in the time of success, but a great leader is what they do in times of great adversity. Stand up and be a leader this community demands. Stand up and be a leader this community deserves. And stand up and be a leader like your business, your children, and your family would depend on too, if you were being plagued by this every single day. Because truthfully, San Francisco doesn't seem too far away. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Next speaker, the final speaker, Jennifer Pierce.
Name and address for the record, please, ma'am. You get 3 minutes.
Jennifer Pierce, 1383 Conservancy Drive East. Good evening, commissioners and county leadership. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm here before you as a business owner, a local resident, and a mother of 5, raising her children here in Tallahassee. SHS Management has over 75 employees and owns and operates numerous real estate holdings and businesses in the 32304 area code. Most of those businesses are located along the Pensacola Street corridor and the surrounding neighborhoods. We have been in business for well over 20 years and have watched the area grow and change. Unfortunately, many of the recent changes are negative. The crime in the area has increased to such a level we can no longer have our employees work at night. We can never schedule an employee to work alone. Our offices have been overtaken by trespassers, loiterers, shoplifters, and people with ill intent. Our beloved maintenance man of 15 years now spends his morning cleaning up human waste. An 18-year-old employee recently had a gun pulled on him in our parking lot, and he was too scared to come back to work. Our insurance agent has told us that our insurance premiums are higher than other areas of Tallahassee due to the crime score. State agencies will not lease our commercial rental spaces because they deem it too dangerous. Our military tenants have provided notice to us that they will be terminating their lease 3 years early and moving elsewhere due to crime and the fact that their recruits and families have a negative impression of our area. After 15 years in our commercial center, Tijuana Flats terminated their lease early. Their reason was simple. They cannot keep the uninvited persons from their restaurant and do not want the liability of operating in the area. We have spent well over $100,000 in adding lights, cameras, and reinforcing fences. Between the loss of tenants and our security improvements, we estimate that the financial impact to our business alone due to crime is in excess of $500,000 within the past year. That number grows daily. The stories of our area are horrifying. People are being beat up, robbed, car break-ins, home invasions, office robberies, vacant apartments being taken over by squatters, vandalism, drug sales, prostitution, and the list goes on and on. Commissioners, the residents and business owners of this area matter. Our safety matters. Our ability to survive and provide employment opportunities in an area where jobs are desperately needed matters. We need your help. Please take immediate action and ensure that this area can become something once again that we are all proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Commissioner Caban.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to discuss crime. I appreciate our speakers. And for those of you who drive on Pensacola Street every single day or routinely, that part of town is just really seeing struggles that I believe are unique to that area. It's getting to a point now where every single day we're getting news alerts about shootings, oftentimes in the middle of the day. Most of them are within a mile radius of where I live. The one that happened yesterday happened roughly 3 blocks from where I live. The multiple shooting incident happened on the other direction of other side of where I live, roughly 3 or 4 blocks. So as your colleague, I'm telling you from a different perspective that a lot of these shootings are hitting, close to home for me personally. And I believe that they are hitting close to home for a lot of people. And let me be clear, this isn't a homelessness problem. This is a crime problem. And I would arguably say that my district, District 2, faces the blunt of it. It's getting to a point now where I'm getting complaints down West Pensacola Street on Highway 20. Businesses being robbed, small businesses, a scooter store being robbed twice in 2 weeks. As a business owner myself, I wouldn't sign a lease on Pensacola Street. And I say that being honest. And so we talk about wanting to support economic development and support growth in our community. Well, we can't leave parts of our community behind that have been steadfast in serving our citizens and paying taxes and, quite frankly, being good partners in our community. And so, I have a motion that I would like to make, but I don't even know that this is going to get the job done. But what I want to do is just start having a conversation about it. Because, I'm fearful if we don't do something now, we're going to lose a part of a community where, quite frankly, I lived on White Drive when I was in college. I lived on Bellevue Way. And when you go look on Zillow and you look at properties that are for sale, people can't give homes away on Jackson Bluff right now. And so I think we need to take action. And so I'm going to start with just a analysis on violent crime. I'd like to make a motion to have staff bring back an analysis on violent crime and compare it to other counties and specifically review crime in the 32304 zip code.
Second.
Motion has been made for staff to bring back an analysis of violent crime in this area code 32304. Made by Commissioner Caban, seconded by Commissioner Proctor. Are there any speakers on that? Commissioner O'Keefe?
Thank you. This seems like the appropriate phrase for these questions, and maybe the type of thing that answers come back with this analysis is the motion specifies violent crime, and a number of the issues mentioned were not directly violent crime. We have lewd acts, picking up human waste. We have other things like that, and perhaps that still should factor into the analysis. And then, and this may just be a question for staff. As I'm listening, I think about how much would it really cost to park a police officer 24/7 in the area? Because some of these nuisance crimes, even if you video it, you can't charge based on a video. You can only charge if an officer observes it. And so in all of our budgeting and everything, how much would it really cost to park a police officer there 24/7? And then beyond that, if that's not something we do, I believe businesses and organizations are able to hire off-duty officers that could do the same thing, as that's not something the county could direct. Now, I know the sheriff is a constitutional officer on their own, and the TPD is not under our purview, but I didn't want to move on without mentioning those issues or ideas on that.
Yes, sir.
That's a great point. In my motion, can we have staff go back and look at what are immediate solutions that we can do to increase police presence on Pensacola Street. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, if that's the motion of the board, we will include that.
If that's the board will, then I would like to include that in my motion.
All right, so, yes, ma'am. The motion on the floor is for an analysis of violent crime in the 32304 area code, zip code, with also analysis of what solutions we have to combat those crimes. Now, Commissioner O'Keefe brought up the point that a lot of the things that were being mentioned were not violent crime. So I think if you really are trying to address the things that the folks here are talking about, I think you would need an analysis of crime in general, not just violent crime. So I would amend that motion, if I were you, Commissioner, depending on what you're trying to get to just say crime in general, because that covers everything that those folks were talking about and gets us analysis and also solutions to that effect.
Thank you. I will accept that amendment. Also, let me reiterate, I want to bring back a status report analysis on all crime in Leon County in comparison to compare it to other counties, and specifically analyze the 32304 zip code. So all of Leon County, but I would like to be able to dissect the 32304 zip code.
So now so what I'm hearing is a analysis of crime in 32304 and solutions, and compared to like-sized counties in their crime, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I think if you want to, and you tell me where you're trying to go with it. I think if you want to compare apples with apples, the like-sized county piece of it does make sense. But given the fact that 32304 is the poorest zip code in the state, would you also want to include the poorest zip code within those like-sized counties, or would you want to go county-wide with it as far as the comparison is concerned?
So I disagree. When we look at other analyses, when we compare things as a county, we oftentimes can look at what other counties are doing, and we factor that in, whether it's economic development or business growth. And so what I want to say is, hey, look, here's our population in Leon County. Let's take our population and let's compare it. Let's take all crime and let's compare it to other similar counties in Florida. And then specifically, I want to be able to do a deep dive into 32304 zip code, because to me, that's where I am seeing the majority of the violent crime and lasting impacts of crime, specifically with Pensacola Street.
Can someone help me, Bill? Commissioner Proctor or Commissioner
Excuse me.
Caban?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We've got the motion.
I know that.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out something real quick. The neighborhoods included within the 32304 area code would be?
Are you asking?
Starting from Bainbridge Road, Mr. Chairman, 32304 comes at Bainbridge Road is its easternmost point, and it begins at Bainbridge Road. The Urban League is not in 32304, that's across the street.
So I asked that question because you said the majority of crime is concentrated within the 32304 zip code. That's why you're interested in it. I don't know if I could go that far as to say that it's concentrated within that area. I think there are it may be the poorest, but I'm thinking there are other towns, other parts of town that may have a higher rate of crime than just that 32304, which kind of, I get where you're going with it. And after you said it again, it had a different thought in my mind, in that if we just had an analysis, which I think the sheriff just did this, but an analysis of crime in general in the county. And then, because you said, I want analysis of crime within the county with a deep dive into 32304. And I want to see what like-sized counties look like as far as their crime is concerned, and what solutions they're using that we could possibly bring here, and what solutions staff can bring back. So the motion that we had was looking specifically just at 32304. It wasn't necessarily looking at the whole county.
No, I said the whole county. But
Okay,
I was asking to have like a further clarification on that zip code.
okay.
I mean, we can remove that and just do the whole county in violent crime. I think,
No, I think-
depending on how the analysis comes back, we'll be able to see which zip codes have, the most crime.
Okay, okay. You got this. Okay, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, motion on the floor is a analysis of crime analysis of crime within Leon County, compared to like-sized counties, and to look at solutions that staff can bring forth and the solutions that are being used in like-sized county, with also a really, really good look at what's going on within the 32304 area code, which covers that Pensacola Street issue that they brought up right there. Is that
Correct. I think it covers a lot of different issues. yes.
Right,
cool?
right.
You good with that? All right. Yes. I got Commissioner Proctor and the Vice Chair.
I defer to
Vice Chair, then
Vice Chair.
Commissioner Proctor. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly don't disagree with the motion that's on the floor, but I wanted to ask the county administrator, bringing this agenda item back, do you have an idea of how long it would be? I get the sense of urgency in this, and I'm thinking that hopefully we as a commission could perhaps maybe have a workshop and discuss these issues, but maybe that would occur after the analysis from the county. But if I may ask county administrator if he has an idea.
Mr. Administrator?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our initial analysis won't take that long. Of course, we'll be working with partners, and including LCSO, to gather a lot of that information, but we'd have it on within the next couple of meetings.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So thank you very much for that, Ms. County Administrator. So hopefully, what I envision is, with all immediate speed, like the Supreme Court said, we've got all immediate speed. This is a problem. It's an issue that's affecting the economy, the tax base in our county. It's affecting our businesses, our citizens, and we do need to tackle it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hope that we as a commission, once we got that report back, that perhaps we would do a workshop and take a deep dive and take some immediate steps to address the issues.
I think that's some good points. Mr. Immediate Pass, and then after you, I'm gonna make a few comments.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I think we're tiptoeing. I think Commissioner Caban is trying to bring things back in an academic sort, but we're really tipping through the tulips. We've been through this. Commissioner Minor has begged our attention to focus on the North Monroe corridor. Commissioner Caban has come and begged our attention on West Pensacola Street, and to look generally at the broad side of 32304 and the rest of the county. And the nature of what our speakers tonight suggested is a special corridor, Pensacola Street. And I would like to target, and I think that we've got to roll our sleeves up, and the sheriff has tried the soft approach to the homelessness issue. And homelessness, no doubt, is an associated element to crime increase. And we've not had that problem, let's be honest, until we opened that shelter on West Tennessee. Prior to that shelter opening on, West Tennessee, I meant West Pensacola. Prior to that, this issue existed on West Tennessee. And I believe Reverend Holmes and Bethel Church had a lot of the impacts of a homeless shelter, people sleeping in the graveyard and using the bathroom, church parking lot, graveyard. It was there. When you move the shelter, we see the velocity and magnitude of human dysfunction there. I think that we need to be looking at, and what I hear is the criminalization of conduct which the sheriff has, with great patience, tried to foster a social work outreach program. I'm not certain when we get to the line that triggers criminal conduct versus mental health dysfunction. And it's hard to, not even the law holds people for crimes if they don't have the requisite mens rea or state of mind. Not even the people downstairs in this building. Your state of mind, if you don't have it, you can walk out the door no matter what you've done in many instances. So I think, Commissioner Van, if I hear you, staff, I think that we were looking for some hard-nosed recommendations and maybe for the sheriff to put on a new pair of spurs on the back of his boots and to get busy, and let's change the tenor. Let's change the tone of policing in those corridors. Not trying to sick the law on nobody, but we're familiar and we've seen, honestly we have, and if we are honest, we know that we're losing that corridor as well as the Twin Towers of North Monroe, which speaks for itself in terms of the economic around there, and West Pensacola. And the impact on that also, the biggest impact in our community are students coming to Tallahassee. And if I just told the truth and shame the devil, and I don't mind telling that truth, I hate driving up Pensacola Street. I don't even like to go that way. I don't like coming from TCC that way. But it remains that a straight line is still the most direct route from A to B. And it's a straight line for me, typically. But to pass by it, it discombobulates your thinking, your thoughts, and you ponder so many things. So if we're not focusing on a little more intense enforcement and delineating right conduct from conduct we can't, and doing something on who's mental and who's just criminal, we've got to go in a little harder than just play patty cake. We're going to lose that. Students and all the housing in that area. I mean, there's millions of dollars worth of housing in that area. And closer to the stadium, there's more housing multiplying. And if that cell of cancer drifts eastwardly toward the stadium, all of that housing, and people don't want to, I mean, I'm just speaking as a father who has a daughter in school. I don't want my daughter, I wouldn't want my daughter in the environment of Pensacola Street. And I say that confessing that I went to Howard University. We're surrounded by Pensacola Street. I mean, it's in the middle of Pensacola Street and North Monroe. So I have been in an urban environment and gone through the struggles of 7 years of being a student at a urban university there. And when I attended school in Boston, I lived in Mattapan and Roxbury, and coming through Dudley Station. If you've been through there, you don't go there half sleep. You don't go past Roxbury College. You don't miss that stop on the subway. It's life and death. And we don't want that to become life and death zone. You can't walk down the street. If we have to do a tour with both the city and the county commission and hear from y'all business folks about that, I think it's just time to hit the brake, time out, and let's change our focus. Otherwise, people who are relying on us to make a balanced, safe community, they're asking us to provide for the health and the safety and the welfare of people, everybody alike. And we shouldn't let, I'm just saying how I think, I don't think in a society that folk who can't and won't overcome in these self-inflicted marginalizations conduct, I I don't think the rest of society should be held hostage and you just have to pity-patty around. Everybody have worked hard and racing hard in their lane. And there are those who dragging everybody down. And I'm just not from that philosophy and I think it's time. You've been begging for a long time that we get busy. Van is asking, and I'm with y'all. I'm down. I'm down like 4 flat tires. I'm with you.
Commissioner Caban?
Thank you for the sentiment, Commissioner Proctor. I agree. I think it's time to be a little bit more stern and firm on crime and what we're tolerating over there. Earlier this year, I requested some information by LCSO that I want to share with you all. There's some real data, and this came straight from Leon County Sheriff's Office, and I'd be more than happy to share with you all after the meeting via email. But I requested what I would call it's a significant block between Capitol Circle Southwest on the western border, Pensacola Street on the southern border, Ocala Road on the eastern border, and West Tennessee Street on the northern border. That big block. And over a span of 2 years, these were the amounts of violent crimes that took place just in that block that LCSO reported to. Just LCSO. 27 instances of aggravated assault, 5 were shootings. 5 instances of forcible fondling, 3 instances of forcible rape, 3 instances of kidnap and abduction, 2 instances of written threat to commit bodily injury, 3 instances of murder, 7 instances of robbery, and 77 instances of simply assault. That's just a 2-year window on one large block in the 32304 zip code. So we have a problem. So I appreciate the board's support and the dialogue. Pass back to the chair.
Thank you. So I'm actually interested. I think the motion on the floor is a good one. Commissioner Proctor made some good comments there. You know, what does crime look like in the county as a whole? You know, within each zip code, what does the story of crime actually look like? We had the indictment of homicide where, you know, we found out a lot about our community and that. But what, you know, in District 4, what does crime look like in District 4? I'm sure it's much different than District 3 or District 1. You know, what kind of things are our law enforcement when they go to those different respective districts? What are they looking for? Because it's not the same throughout the whole community because the plight is different throughout the whole community. So within the analysis that we're looking at, I'm hoping that we get a breakdown by zip code district. I don't care how you do it, where I can actually take a piece of paper, break down a map and say in District 3, you know, they have a high rate of assault, you know, or robbery, or whereas in District 4, it might be petty theft. You know, just what does it look like per district? Now, as far as the Pensacola Street and the homelessness thing, I happened to start doing homelessness for a living not too long ago. You know, I've listened and I've wondered how to approach it and what to say, and I'm wondered if I should say anything. If my county attorney is going to slap my hand for doing so, I won't make a motion, I promise. It's not. Commissioner Proctor said something that made a lot of sense. He said, is it an issue of mental or is it an issue of criminal? Because we got to decipher between the two, if it's mental or if it's criminal. A lot of times, some of our shelters, what they have to do is they put people out in the community during the day, and they're able to come back at night. And I would imagine, especially, I know in my spot, I've kind of tried to change that a little bit, but a lot of the things you guys are experiencing are, if they're not in those shelters, if they're happening late night, that's because they're not in the shelters, but some of it's during the day. Yes? That's because those folks are not in the shelters, they're out in the community. But then they want to make sure they get back in the shelter, so they're going to stay close to the shelter. The way you deal with homelessness is through housing. The conversation that we had earlier about affordable housing is one that we really, really got to concentrate on. How do you get people off of Pensacola Street? You put them in the house. But much more than just putting them in the house, you have to equip them with what it takes to keep that house after they get in it. So what we're going to find out, all the different ways crime plagues our community in different areas, right? And then what we can do is we can have the sheriff and the police department focus on Pensacola Street, tighten up, right? Well, let's say he picks some people up and he takes them to Leon County Jail. What's he doing? He's housing them. And when they're in the jail, what are they getting? Programming. They can go to this program, they can go to that program, they can get health care, they can do this, they can do that. And then whenever their sentence is up, they go right back to the streets. And sometimes to a place where they can't make enough money to get right back into a place where they need to, which is housing. It's a much more complex problem than just picking people up and throwing them in jail. It's something that's far more complex than that. Now, can we fix their problem by picking folks up, putting them in the jail, becoming tighter on Pensacola Street? Yeah, we can do that, but how long can we hold them? I mean, if it's something like, indecent exposure or something like that, I mean, we hold them for a little bit, but then after they get out, where are they going to go? Right back to Pensacola Street. So we've only just temporarily solved the problem. So I'm good with us bringing back and looking at the different crime across and the analysis, that piece of it. But I think if you think that we're about to solve this problem of homelessness on Pensacola Street with what we're talking about right now, you're not even close. I'm reading this book called The Infinite Game, y'all. It's called Infinite Game because there's some things that no matter how big the goal is, you're never going to achieve it. Ever. So the thought that crime, right? We want to end crime in Leon County. Great goal. But will we ever end the crime in Leon County? It's never happened. As long as we have a homeless shelter or two on Pensacola Street, there will be homelessness in Leon County because it's the homeless shelter for the region. It's not just Leon County. So there's folks from all over the place. So I think what the focus is, in my opinion, the focus is to try to create an environment where those businesses can thrive, where they can not worry about some of the things that they have to worry about. That's the Band-Aid on the solution to try to fix it, right? But larger than that, we really got to look at how we move these folks that are homeless. We call it housing first model, where you put them. If you could just get someone into housing, if you can just get them there, then you can start to work on all the other pieces that go along with it. But before you get them there, are there ways that we could as a community start to connect, to have programming, so the mental health piece of it. So if I have a client at Family Promise who has a mental health issue, is there some kind of way that I could partner with Appalachia? So during the day, instead of them being out on Pensacola Street, I'm mandating that they have to go get counseling at Appalachia. Is there a way that I could partner with? I'm working on it. I could partner with Career Source. That instead of them sitting on Pensacola Street during the day, they're in my place in a resource center, getting resumes done and applying for jobs on the computer and things like that. Those are the things that we need to start thinking about. How do we get our shelters and our folks that deal with the homeless to really start programming in that way while they're also trying to get folks into housing? I got folks for 60 days. Supposedly. I got folks for 60 days when they get to Hope. How much can I transition? How much can I change them in 60 days? And after those 60 days, guess what? I got families. After those 60 days, they're going right back to Pensacola Street. If I don't do anything with them, I don't give them in housing in 60 days, they're going right back on Pensacola Street. So we can't simplify this conversation to just say, hey y'all, we're going to do what we can about crime. It's going to solve your problem. That may get it for a month or two, but it's not a long range plan to try to really put you guys in a situation where you're not worried about some of the things that you're worried about, because I guarantee you some of those issues that you have are not criminal, they're mental. And there's nothing I can do where I'm from where I sit for someone that's in a mental case if I don't have a partnership across the community, or if I don't have a government or someone that understands the problem is much deeper than just saying, what do we do with the homeless people that's causing all the problems and doing all the crimes on Pensacola Street? So I like the motion on the floor. I like the idea of analysis to know what's going on by zip code. But if we're really going to dig into this, we got to dig into it in a way that we've never dug into it before. In that even the signs are good, but the way you deal with homelessness is by creating an environment where even those who are 30% of AMI can find a place to live. That's why I love so much about what Brenda Williams did. Those people who are 20% AMI, they making $20,000, $30,000 a year, they can find a place to live over in Orange Avenue Apartments. They're getting vouchers from her so they can find, so they're not on Pensacola Street. Those families are on Pensacola Street. They're housed. We need to create more situations like that. And that long term is the way that we're going to really, really help these folks and these businesses over the long term. Commissioner Welch, Commissioner Proctor.
I think Commissioner O'Keefe.
Okay. Okay, O'Keefe, Welch, Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I support the motion as is, looking at analysis of crime, because what we're talking about is crime. It's not a problem because we're not voting on a motion for it, but we're talking about it is, we're talking about homelessness again, we may be inserting what we want out of the results before we ask for the analysis. So I'm going to vote for this analysis on crime because what we're talking about are crimes. I echo everything the chairman says about homelessness, which is separate from this, and I look forward to the results from crime. And as we talk about homelessness, I just will remind everyone we had an in-depth workshop in May where we brought all our community partners together and we approved a plan, a significant change in plan, and we need to let that play out. That doesn't mean we don't enforce things that are currently against the law, but let's let our plan play out to address homelessness, and that'll pass.
Yes, Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will certainly defer to Commissioner Proctor and Commissioner Caban. I will certainly support the motion. I think that it's important to Commissioner O'Keefe's points and your points, Mr. Chair, that we don't conflate the issue of crime and homelessness. And I think that Commissioner Caban's motion is really geared towards crime. I have gone on ride-alongs with TPD and LCSO on the West Pensacola Street corridor on separate occasions. And I can tell you that almost to a man or to a woman, the officers tell me that the solution to their problem is more officers. They need more officers. They can only do so much with the amount of officers they have. Now, I know we've raised salaries, or we've supported the Sheriff's Department raising salaries. I don't know the extent to which we've looked at adding deputies to his budget, but I think that, and this is completely your discretion, Commissioner Caban, but I think Commissioner Minor's task force on North Monroe Street kind of laid a blueprint for what we're trying to do in terms of focusing on an area. West Pensacola Street undeniably is an important gateway, certainly for every college student. I lived on White Drive in college as well, and it was a whole different world 20 years ago. And so I think that maybe this is a little out of the box thinking, but along to Commissioner Proctor's idea, why don't we get together and all do a ride along on Pensacola Street on a Friday night? And I know we can't do that for open meeting problem, but like maybe the press, if the press comes and we notice it, can't do that either? Like, I think it would be super beneficial to us all together to be with LCSO and TPD and see something like that.
Okay, there are a couple of things.
Okay.
Sunshine law is very clear. You can't even take a field trip somewhere and nobody talk to each other and not violate the sunshine law.
Okay.
So you can take separate ride-alongs if you'd like. I would highly encourage you, in order to not violate the sunshine law, do not take field trips together. Commissioner Caban also mentioned wanting to share data with the other commissioners. Entirely fine and appropriate. If he does that directly, I would request that none of you respond to Commissioner Caban about that data, because doing so would constitute a sunshine law violation when you know this is coming back to the board. Right. What might be better is for Commissioner Caban to give that data to staff, have staff distribute it, and then not communicate with each other about it. But while I think I understand
sure
the goal, that is not legally okay.
Well, thank you, Madam Attorney. Mr. Chair, may I follow up? So that's fine, totally understandable. But again, maybe the idea of a task force, getting together business owners with TPD, with LCSO, with policymakers in a public forum, somewhere similar to what you did with North Monroe, is a step naturally after the analysis. So I don't want to put words in your mouth. That just seems like a natural step to me. I agree. I think it's a real problem. I think that it's not necessarily just homelessness. I think that's a separate issue, and we certainly have done a lot, and we'll just continue to do a lot and discuss that. But I think that it is a real problem, and when we talk about our students that come to Tallahassee, I mean, that is the corridor that you thrive on between TCC and FSU, and that we've got to do something to improve the conditions there. And so I'll certainly support your direction on that, Commissioner Caban, and just want to throw my thoughts out there. Thank you.
Mr. Mia Pass.
Has there been a white paper produced at the level of NACO, or the Florida Association of Counties, that lift up communities that have actually recovered sinking communities? Is there a methodology that planners, reformers, or other commissions have done other than ours? One of the things for me, as Commissioner over the years, looking at the bland diet offered, this culinary diet of intellectual offerings from NACO, they hardly ever have anything that talk about stuff pertaining to District 1. One of the faults and failures of Florida Association of Counties is attending a meeting that they ain't talking about nothing that relate to District 1. You hate it sounds good and all, some of it, but it's not the reality which mainly I represent. And I ponder how a problem from sea to shining sea occurring, homelessness, and there's not a more aggressive stance or review of literature that has come forth to guide communities on what to do and how to address these problems. I would encourage our county administrator, the internationally recognized county administrator, to challenge that body. I think the ICMA will meet, in October. Vince, we need white papers to guide, something to tell us. And I'm not getting my money's worth for going to NACO. I'm just telling y'all. They don't talk about my district at all. And I hate wasting other people's money, but it's a good trip. But it gives very little to talk about 32304s. I mean, we ought to put 32304s in national conversation. But then fixing urban problems seems not to be an American priority. It's going with the flow and with the newly developed communities, suburban. It's just not. And it's been that failure, Commissioner Cummings, the failure to address urban issues over time, that it gets worse and worse. I have said to us commissioners, you've not hurt me at all, but I have suggested in previous months to you, I really sincerely believe that the federal government is sitting on the national forest. I don't know why the homeless campus, in the interest of balancing our community, what hindereth the federal government from relinquishing properties that they have owned for years. We have looked in this report at our budget, all of this stuff. I mean, the scope of what we've looked at tonight is pretty thick. There's nothing from the federal government. One fifth of the property of this county is not reported to this board in any form or fashion. Just a fact. I think that we ought to do something creative because our backs are pressed against the wall. And I believe that in the name of both affordable housing going forward, and sometimes people don't want to, ordinary people I saw tonight that our average household income somewhere is $82,000 per household in this county. But sometimes when you make $82,000, you don't want to live around them. You don't want to be around them. I think that the federal forest is an opportunity that we explore, come up with something different, and I don't see what's so sacred about federal forests being kept from human beings, the need of people, and the place. If you've been to a United States military base in Alabama, these bases, man, they're fantastic, beautiful cities, amazing worlds. Why can't we, if we can get soldiers, Hut 2, 3, 4, why can't we get other people and create cities, communities, and blah, blah? I've said that before. I won't relinquish these ideas, but I do want to commend Commissioner Maddox, our chairman, who, before Brenda Williams moved a teaspoon of dirt, he believed like that. Thank you, Coach Prime. He believed, and he went to New Orleans, Athens, Atlanta, and Tampa to see communities that had redeveloped, had done the things that she's doing through Tallahassee Housing. But even before, because I tried to go up to Atlanta, and I drove up to Thomasville, and I turned around and did a U-turn. I didn't feel like driving that far. I was going to go, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I did a U-turn. I just didn't feel like it. But Nick, you went all the way, and I salute that you have been with Brenda out front and putting your political credit card out there with her. And to that extent, salute you. And it's just one project. She's just one general. If we could focus and really come up with the idea, why can't the Secretary of HUD walk with us? Why can't the Department of Interior walk with us? Why can't Homeland Security walk with us? What would the congressman representing our area have against us getting some of those thousands of acres that the U.S. government holds, and they're doing zero with? Nothing. That's just unacceptable. I want the dirt that we can try and do something. That's what I've been urging us to get an ask on. And in the New Testament, there's this admonishment that we should ask, that we should seek, and we should knock. And just maybe there will be an answer favorable and positive to our request. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call the question.
Question's been called. I didn't recognize it yet.
Okay.
Not in queue. Commissioner Commend, it's your.
I just want to say, I was going to second call the question, but I appreciate everyone's dialogue, and what is comforting about what I saw with this board is that we identified a problem, we all discussed it, and it looks like we're going to take a step forward, hopefully in the right direction, and so I do sincerely appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries without objection. Any other speakers? No other speakers. Madam Attorney.
I'll provide a couple of updates to the board by memorandum, but I have nothing for the board this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Administrator.
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Proctor.
Commissioners, this has been a great night. Wonderful report to our county administrator and leadership team for the Leon County Annual Report 2023. We're very, very proud for this report. Encourage our citizenry to go online and to see the accountability, the transparency. Good work. I wanted to thank Judge Marsh, Judge J. Lee Marsh, last week indicated, as captured by this headline story in the Capital Outlook newspaper, Judge Marsh has found that the redistricting that had been offered from the executive branch, not the legislative branch, violates our state standards for drawing or redrawing congressional districts. It's so important that the Fair Districts Amendment in our state recognizes and encourages that we have black representatives in Congress. The people of my district, for just a brief time in history, had a black representative, Al Lawson, and that was taken away. It's almost like, did that really happen or something? But I want to thank this judge for manning up and following the law and doing that which hopefully our community, North Florida, in a county that is the capital, does not have a Democrat to represent the capital county, which is overwhelmingly, decisively Democratic, and we're represented by a Republican congressman. That makes no sense. We had that, and we deserve that. And my hope is that once this goes through all the legal blah, 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 we would have a congressman who maybe could, who knows where Pensacola and North Monroe is, and maybe one who would listen to me and pursue part of the United States forest being utilized for the special needs of people, and not just bears and raccoons and stuff, but people need a piece of that forest. And I'm so pleased with what Judge Marsh. Also, commissioners, want to indicate, since we've last met, that I want to ask the county attorney if you could please share with us legislation that was introduced by a state senator to term limit county commissioners, legislation that seeks to place on the ballot for 2024 a statewide referendum to term, and from my understanding of the language of county attorney, for those persons who have served 8 years, which on this dais would only be a minimum amount, their names could not reappear in subsequent elections to continue. I think that when the legislature, in the pursuit of jobs and job hunting, to come out the county commissioners because they term limit out in 8, and that they come for the jobs that are paying multiple times more than what they make at $30,000 as a state legislator. This is a process of, I forget the word, but they're job hunting and making county commissioners susceptible to catching the boot that, for instance, Gallup Franklin and I have the same district. It's very easy that Gallup Franklin could be a District 1 county commissioner because he's won it over and over and over. This is a thing that is occurring. But I'd like if the county attorney could share with us greater detail and understanding, and maybe possibly our board may ask Florida Association of Counties to we may have a position of what we think. We may not come to an agreement, but the fact that it affects our daily bread, it takes food off our tables, and it stymies the power and the glory of serving as elected officials in our county, is worth clarification for us, if you would, county attorney.
That was a motion?
If it's required, so move.
Could you restate the motion?
That the county attorney would share with us the ramifications of the bill filed by state senator last week that seeks to term limit county commissioners by way of referendum in a statewide election.
Okay.
Motion.
Point of clarification, if he wants an agenda item, then it would require board direction, but if he just wants me to disseminate information, I
Just
can do that.
information.
I can do that, no
Thank
problem.
you.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Mr. Chairman, shouts out to President McCullough, Florida State. I'm so very pleased. I'm so pleased that our president, his board of trustees see fit that he's $1 million president and not striving to become an almost $1 million president. When the football coach who presides over X's and O's and lines on a sheet of paper makes multiple times more than the college president who presides over E equals MC square and X's and O's and ABCs all the way down on 26. That's just something wrong. So I was so pleased, and I intend to reach out to the president to say this is a marker, this is a milestone, something that's mixed up in America when the presidents make much less than our culture. And then, commissioners, tonight, the county administrator talked about the septic to sewer and removing septic tanks. And I'd like, commissioners, if we could get some statement from the city, memorandum of understanding. What is the city doing when we remove these septic tanks? And our goal, I saw the goal was to remove 500. And when you remove septic tanks, what happens next? And I think that a statement from the city, a timeline, their agreement of sewering the south side and not overlooking the south side residents there and running a pipe down to Woodville, which I have implored for years, a pipe going to Woodville. But commissioners, I don't know if a motion is needed, Mr. Chairman, but I want the city to provide us some scope, some idea of when is we going to get sewer in the south side.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Proctor for agenda item looking at when the city would consider putting sewer on the south side?
Yeah, we need to understand.
Right.
When was that coming?
All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries without objection.
Then commissioners, we had a summer youth program before COVID hit, and I certainly recognizing that we don't want programmatically to fall off from what great things we've done in the past, that we're able to have a summer youth program again in 2024. And I hope that our staff could bring back and dust off that old plan if this commission, and it's something that I'm willing to hope that we could look at in our retreat. And I'm asking board support that we look at the summer youth program for 24 in the retreat.
Mr. Administrator?
We still have a summer youth program. So just to make it clear, we did it, we conducted it this summer, and we still have a very active summer youth program.
Very good. And then finally, commissioners, I forwarded you all a bunch of paper today. My points today in talking about the Children's Services Council. And the meeting started off with a big bang for me when I heard Commissioner Welch in the reading of his resolution say that 1 in 3 children in Leon County are hungry. Out of all the fantastic things that we report right here, out of all the fantastic stuff, but when 1 in 3 children is hungry, that's amazing, and that's painful. And I think that there is still continuing work for us to do. And that's why, Commissioner Cummings, I feel it premature and that we would roll back the millage rate on children 1 and 3 is absolutely hungry. And then I wanted to finally take note of my final, Mr. Chairman, that a statement that we made in the notes. The Leon County budget is balanced without increasing the current 8.3144 millage. For 2024, property values increased by 7.87%, providing an additional $13.29 million in property tax revenue. Skip. Property taxes growth was offset by overall inflationary increases. Skip. Inflationary costs for contractual services, fuel and materials, and supplies. I want to say to our representative on the Children's Services Council that the 7.87% property value increase, we did not roll back $13.29 million in additional tax revenue. And I'm asking that we not roll back the additional tax revenue for the Children's Services Council. Every governmental entity in Leon County, the school board, the city, in fact, the city asked for 10% addition for police. And this county government, we did not roll back millage. We received the surplus. The state of Florida received $5 billion surplus this year. And I think that is inconsistent that the most vulnerable children for whom a study was conducted, and from the facts gathered, a referendum item was put before the community. And this community purposed in their voting that they would be taxed up to 5.0 cents on $1,000 of assessed property value. They say they would accept that. And I hope that the CSC would hear the people. The children need more. The Coalition Healthy Start says so. Whole Child Leon report says so. And the project which research which said we needed a Children's Service Council, it said so. Please, CSC, leave them children alone. They are mine. Thank you.
Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. Just wanted to say I had recently had the opportunity to tour Killearn. The Killearn Country Club is now called the Killearn Club. It's a significant private sector investment in the many, many millions of dollars that's being made right in the heart of Killearn Estates. They gave me a tour of what they were doing, and I wanted to mention that they would be glad to do that for all of you. If you're so inclined, I can get you in touch with the right person. And they can show you what they're doing out there, which is going to really revitalize one of our legacy neighborhoods in the community. 40 and 50-year-old houses are going to get renovations, and you know, it's going to really breathe life into that community. And so wanted to invite you guys to go out there and check that out if you were so inclined. Secondly, just wanted to commend our public works staff for the sandbagging operation that was going on at the Northeast Branch Library. Brent, your guys were working like dogs out there, and there was a long line, and it was rough, and it was taking a while, but they were hustling, and it was hot, and I ended up going out there and hauling a few sandbags and just getting in the way, which begs the question, and I don't know if this necessarily needs to be an agenda item, but maybe just ask staff to, have we investigated what it would cost to get some of those machines that sort of bag everything up and just have them ready to go? Because I had key clubbers from Childs High School out there that were doing bagging and just leaving them for people to pick up. And I mean, they were going as fast as they could bag them. And so there's really no amount of manpower that was going to make that super efficient. And I know there are some machines that are available. I don't know how much they cost, whatever. You'd have to have like 5 or 6 or 8 of them, which would be a problem, right? All over the county, I'm sure. So just wanted you to look into that if you could. I don't think it requires an agenda item. But other than that, just really wanted to commend that staff, public works staff, who really step up in those instances. And there was like 3 or 4 big old piles of sand out there, and I had elderly folks out there and hustling, and it was pretty rough. So thank you again for all you guys do, and just something to look into. And then other than that, that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner O'Keefe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask for the board's approval to have the Cub Scouts of Pac 10 come and do a flag ceremony and the Pledge of Allegiance at either the October or November meeting, so they can earn their badge for that.
That's second.
Motion made, seconded. Any objection? Seeing none, short of
Cool. Now that the controversial stuff's done, I'll just say I passed on the link to the county administrator if he thinks it'd be helpful to forward a 2021 report from NACO titled "The County Role in Ending Homelessness and Improving Public Health," for people who might be interested in NACO's analysis. And then I want to mention something we approved in consent with 2 public hearings is reducing the limits on the size of accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. And this is some low-hanging fruit that would allow people with smaller lots to build on and add on. Think mother-in-law suite, apartment garage, or for practical purposes they couldn't before. So this is an excellent way to get some new affordable housing units, whether it's family moving in together or rental units. And I asked county staff how many lots this affects that gives them the option to do this now. And we're looking at 10,000 more lots in the county that could choose to build one of these. And so that's pretty exciting. For something that might sound boring, it's very exciting. And then I wanted to just also recognize 211 Big Bend. They came and spoke earlier. And they are a resource that in the past I have used and found very helpful, and that especially during Suicide Prevention Month, reiterate that anyone can call 211 here locally, and anyone anywhere can call or text 988 and to prevent that. So often people don't realize that suicidal thoughts can be a very small period in what is a very happy life. And so I'm glad those resources are there. Thank you.
Mr. Minor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner O'Keefe, that's a great segue into my first item here. 211 Big Bend has asked me to request a proclamation for Suicide Prevention Week and Suicide Prevention Month, which will be presented at the offices of the 211 Big Bend. So I'd like to make a motion for that.
Motion made, seconded. Any objection? So is approved.
All right, thank you very much. Now, I've got, on September 13th and 14th this week, the Florida Association of Counties is meeting in Orlando for its policy conference. And I've got 3 proposals here that I wanted to share with you and seek your approval on. Let's see. The first one is on the numbered formatting. It's a single page. It's for the Health, Safety, and Justice Policy Committee. This is a proposed resolution to modify SHIP under state statutes that would allow us to have more flexibility in using those SHIP funds for helping some type of rental assistance. Under SHIP currently, at least 65% of SHIP funds must be spent on home ownership activities. But for counties like ours, Leon County, renters are about 3 times more likely to be cost burdened than homeowners in this county. In fact, when it comes to severely burdened people, renters or homeowners, 31% of renters are severely burdened, meaning cost burdened, whereas only 8% of homeowners in Leon County are cost burdened. So for our county, the more that we have the flexibility to help renters or help landlords create more rental units, the better the SHIP funds can probably be spent for us. So what this item does is urge FACT to support the relaxation of some SHIP requirements so that we can more readily use those funds for rental type assistance or construction if we choose to. And I'd like to make a motion for approval for that.
Motion made. And seconded. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Excuse me, can you repeat the motion?
A motion is for us to support the change in SHIP to allow for more flexibility for rental units, for apartments. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries without objection.
Thank you. And then the other handout I gave you is a 3-pager. The front page of it is an endorsement from Robin Hassler Thompson of Survive and Thrive Advocacy Center on the 2 pieces of policy proposals. The first one is something that we've already done here in Leon County. This would be a requirement within statutes that if government contractors get either state or local funds, that in that contract they need to insert a clause asserting that they do not engage in labor trafficking. And we've already done that in Leon County. We passed that a few months ago. What this would do is basically make that a state level policy. And I combined this with the other policy, if you don't mind. The second one is also been endorsed by Robin Hassler Thompson and STAC, where most businesses are more than willing to work with law enforcement when it comes to reducing incidents of human trafficking. There's a very small number of businesses that either ignore repeated appeals from law enforcement to work with them on cracking down on possible human trafficking within their property. In some cases, law enforcement suspects they might even be complicit in some of the activities that take place there. What this policy would do would be to put into statutes the ability, under extreme conditions when establishments simply just refuse to work with law enforcement, the local government with law enforcement can appeal to DBPR to have that business license revoked. And so this is meant for some, the most extreme examples of businesses out there that refuse to work with law enforcement to help them investigate human trafficking on their property. This has also been endorsed by STAC, and Robin Hassler Thompson is hoping that the Leon County Commission can support that too.
Motion made for support of those 2 policies. Is there a second? Motion seconded by Commissioner O'Keefe. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Great, thank you. That's it I have on the fact policy proposals. I did want to mention something. We spent a lot of time talking about crime in the county, and I was going to speak then, but I thought I'd wait until now. One thing that we're doing in North Monroe, for several months I've been working with the Sheriff's Office, taking a 4-mile stretch of North Monroe, from Fred George down to Tharp, and we're actually taking the North Monroe and dividing it into 3 different zones. There are 400 businesses all throughout that 4-mile stretch, but by dividing it into 3 different zones, we're working with the Sheriff's Office to actually reach out to those businesses to set up 3 separate Business Crime Watch meetings. So, we have like 120 businesses from Fred George to Sessions Road. Well, we send them a mail piece. We invite them to a meeting with free breakfast. This morning, I actually was out on North Monroe knocking on business doors, handing out flyers for this upcoming meeting that we have, as a way to try to get businesses together within a section of North Monroe, all looking out for each other to reduce crime. And then we've actually had a captain with the LCSO walk with me, knocking on business doors, letting people know about these meetings. So the idea is, and that's something any of us can do within our districts, is to focus on Pensacola, for example. Take Pensacola, work with the Sheriff's Office to kind of divide it along areas that make sense, and then talk to those businesses and get them to form a Business Crime Watch group, because they get it, right? If a business can help their employees feel safe and their customers feel safe, the whole business is going to thrive. And if all the business networks are working together to reduce crime in that area, you're going to see the area improve. Now, it won't work always work in the neighborhoods, but for the main thoroughfares and arteries like Pensacola, we're very optimistic in North Monroe that that's going to work. We've got our second zone being set up for a meeting on September 21st at 8:30 at the Days Inn on 2900 North Monroe. It's going to focus on the businesses from Fred George to Session Road, so that meeting is going to be for those businesses, but any citizens are welcome to come. Anybody that wants to come and talk about North Monroe is more than welcome to come. We'll feed you. But that could be an idea that we could all do within our districts, is to focus on those main arteries where you've got many businesses that know that they need to work together to help. This is one way for us to do that and help them help us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
When is the Florida Association of Counties meeting next month? You said
it's September 13th and 14th in Orlando. The first day, the 13th, is an innovation day where they talk, and then the policy committees take place on the 14th. Incidentally, it's the same day as Amazon grand opening. So I'm unfortunately going to miss that, but I'll be in Orlando. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Commissioner Cabell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize in advance. I have a few quick things that might try to be very brief. First, I would like to request a proclamation for Casey Dennis and the Boys and Girls Club of the Big Bend. Recently, a partnership, the county partnered with them in the Fort Benning community for an after-school program that is going to be, a real quality of life game changer for folks that live in the Fort Benning community, because Fort Benning School currently does not have an after-school program. So I think this is a great initiative, and I'd like to request a proclamation.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Caban, seconded by Commissioner Proctor. Any objection? Seeing none, show it as approved.
Thank you. Next, I have a question for Mr. Administrator, blueprint question. In anticipation for the Airport Gateway agenda item that's coming in this week's blueprint agenda, first I want to thank you for some of the help behind the scenes with me and some of our conversations in preparation for the last meeting that we had. It was very helpful. And I kind of want to shed some light on our conversation, specifically in regards to Spring Hill Road being, a viable option, primary route for the Airport Gateway, and also, reiterating the fact that we are still in our infancy on the project and that it's not too late to pivot. I think it would just be beneficial for the board, since, you're not on the dais and blueprint meetings, if you just shed some light on that.
Sure, be happy to. Commissioners, I understand Commissioner Caban's question. At your next meeting, based on the most recent action from the blueprint body, we'll be bringing back an agenda item for you all to explore the Airport Gateway project. Without going into too much detail, as you know, it currently consists of two routes together, one Spring Hill Road, one being a new Lake Bradford alignment that would connect to Stuckey. That project's been on the books for a long time. I've expressed to Commissioner Caban repeatedly that it's obviously very well within Blueprint's authority, and a very legitimate conversation to have, should the board wish to, when conditions change over time, and things do change, to re-examine those routes. And also shared with him in our conversations that for a long time, before opportunities arose relative to Florida State, that Spring Hill Road was conceived as one of the primary routes, if not the primary route, for a gateway to the airport. So the most important thing is that the board obviously get all the information and have all that information before you, the historical information, and if any opportunities have changed along the way, as well as all of the budget information, and for you all to make decisions. There are processes in place for you all to make decisions and change projects, and I'm confident that you all will have all that information before you at the next meeting, to at least initiate that process, should the IA board be interested in that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mishra. That's very helpful.
On point,
Yes.
before you proceed, may I ask Mr. Chairman,
Of course, go ahead.
Commissioner Caban, is it possible that we can get a clarity and some delineation? Does Florida State have a position? Has Florida State abandoned its interest in the gateway proposed under a previous administration? And calls which I've received indicate and is murking up the water. And I think that it's very important that a segment of the community is disbelieving, and then we don't have anything in black and white. We saw in black and white that 200 and some million is going to be spent on the stadium. We see in black and white that the president's going to make $1 billion, but we've seen no black and white that there's an abandonment or a disinterest. I feel that it gives a conversation, well, it's going to foster administrative constipation if there's the thought and perception that Florida State is still standing by this project. We need that to go forward, to flow and think clearly. And I would like if that information can be brought definitively to us commissioners as well.
One point, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Proctor, I've had a conversation with FSU Board of Trustees Chairman Peter Collins, and the feedback that I've gotten is FSU's position is what's best for the community. And so I encourage everyone, maybe to reach out and to have that individual conversation as well. But that is the feedback I had a direct conversation with the chairman.
I think that
Point of
in terms of
information.
I think I got the floor,
Can we
Commissioner.
be discussing this level of detail together about a blueprint issue?
It's a public notice meeting.
It's a publicly noticed meeting. The board can't take any action on it. It's not germane to county-specific business, but it's not prohibited.
Commissioner Caban, I am not disagreeing with what you and Chairman Collins discussed. There are others in the community who are saying you have not, and that's
Absolutely.
not their position. So I believe you, but there's no need to go to a meeting with two opposing thoughts. And our most credible citizens are suggesting that your point is not credible.
Mm-hmm.
I need something in writing to know. I deserve that. That's all.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I'm not going to. Go ahead.
Just on point, Mr. Chair, is this something that we're asking to be addressed at our blueprint meeting? Ms.
Well,
Commissioner Command,
well,
this
what
is something.
Commissioner Caban has asked, I'm fine, but I'm asking in addition to, can we seek clarity with respect to FSU's position?
Let me jump in. So what I think what Commissioner Proctor is trying to see is, and what we're used to, even going back to when we originally had this conversation about the airport gateway, I mean, years ago, we heard from the president of FSU and FSU as a whole where they stood on this. There was a public acknowledgement as to where FSU stood. Now, Commissioner Caban has said he's spoken to the Board of Trustees chairman, and he's given indication about where they stand. But what Commissioner Proctor is saying is there's been no formal statement as to where FSU stands on this. And so what he's asking is that at some point, I guess he's asking publicly on the record here, that FSU as a university puts something definitively out there, black and white, as to where they stand on this subject. Now, there's one thing, like Commissioner Proctor says, one thing to hear from the president of the Board of Trustees, but there's another thing to put it on paper in a meeting in front of people to say, FSU, this is where we stand. Mm-hmm. So that's what Commissioner Proctor is asking for clarity.
Right, and I understand that, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Okay, but my clarification is this anticipated to come during our blueprint meetings, or are we asking for this
I think he's
before this
I think he's asking for it to come any way it comes. If it comes in the Tallahassee Democrat, if it comes during our meeting, if it comes on the radio.
We have an item on your next blueprint.
We have an item on the next blueprint meeting that would
on blueprint, okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Does it definitively speak to the subject matter that we're talking about?
If this
Yes,
is
that's
the direction of the
position.
board, we can seek that.
I think that's what Commissioner Proctor is asking for.
And I don't oppose it, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please,
I
of course.
just wanted clarification.
Yeah. Commissioner Caban.
Okay. I want to also, I'm moving on now.
Of course.
9/11 Day of Service. I have some thank yous. I would like to give a big thank you to Assistant County Administrator Shinkton Lammy. You in here, Shinkton, still? I'm in. Jelani Marks for coordinating the 9/11 Day of Remembrance and Service. Very privileged and thankful to have this event in District 2 neighborhood, Yon's Lakeside Estates. And I'm also thankful for my colleagues who showed up and put that sweat in. And I just want to say I appreciate that. Additionally, I would like to give a thank you to Brent Pell and Anna Padilla for their hard work and patience and guidance on Lake Munson. I know you guys are doing a great job, and I know that there's some folks who aren't really happy with the direction, but I still believe you guys are headed on the right path, and I just want to say thank you. Additionally, Commissioners, tomorrow is our very own Miss Regina Nash's birthday. So I want to wish her an early birthday as she celebrates tomorrow. We're very lucky to have her. And I also would like to say thank you to Lake Talcott State Forest Management Plan Advisory Group. They invited me to be on their 10-year land management plan for the Lake Talcott State Forest, the meeting will be held on September 27th with public meetings starting at 10:30 a.m. and also 1 p.m. And the meeting will be in Bear Creek Educational Forest located in Pat Thomas Parkway in Quincy, Florida. Lastly, I don't know if Ally's back there. She has some stuff to bring up to the dais. Had some compliments on my District 2 hat, and so I ran this by the county attorney, and she said this is fine. But I got you all your own hats.
Thank you.
So Ally will pass them around.
That is pretty dope.
But yeah, so now you guys can't be haters.
Yeah.
Vince, I even got you one. Don't mess up your hair though. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
We got specific ones. Thank you.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Who's got the green? Proctor, probably. Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, that's custom.
That's that Rattler green
That's
instead of that Bison
That's
blue,
right,
Mr.
exactly.
Proctor.
That's why
You know,
green.
y'all know I'm a hat collector. Y'all didn't know that. And I got some funkability.
It matches the tie too. Look.
I'm in
Boy,
there.
you over there look like a Rattler.
Am I in there? Hey,
Too much. Yes.
that'll work.
Your Bison brothers would be very upset with you right now.
No, I think that all of these are pretty cool, and maybe the coolest our vice chair has. That has a lot of swag.
Commissioner Command, thank you so much. Great gesture.
Guys, thank you.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. So much has gone on this month that I'm just so proud of our county administrator and county attorney and all the county leaders and staff, from the 911 Day of Remembrance to most recently this week. We just had a great tear-jerking, very emotional 911 observers on Monday morning out at the Red Cross. I want to commend, of course, the Red Cross for their collaboration with the county and county staff to just unveil that beautiful 911 monument. And of course, we all remember September 11th, 22 years ago, one of the greatest, one of the worst catastrophes, of course, in our country. But unveiling that monument Monday, it just made us just remember how great our country is and how we all come together in times of catastrophes. And of course, on the heels of Adelia, where our county leaders and administrators just came together to give us all the great information and make sure that county residents were safe. It just all came together. So thank you, Mr. County Administrator, and your executive staff and all the individuals that work for the county to just make us look really, really good. This is a beautiful annual report. I know you didn't do it by yourself, Mr. County Administrator. You had so many individuals to come together to provide this this report, and I appreciate the report, and it lets us know that the county, that we're doing well. We've got reserves. We're covering our bases. It doesn't mean we don't have room to do better, but just thank you all, and Madam County Attorney, because I know you review everything to make sure we're legally on the right track. Mr. Chair, I've been asked to ask for a proclamation as well. October is National SIDS Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, and the Capital Area Healthy Start Organization has requested a proclamation to be presented to them in October. So I move for such a proclamation.
Motion been made by Commissioner. Oh, all right, a second. Everybody understand the motion on the floor? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries the objection. Madam Vice Chair.
And that's basically it, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank my fellow commissioners and those that are commissioners in their various districts for raising issues that are germane to their constituents in their particular districts. As you know, I always support all of you all when you raise issues in your districts, and I just want to commend you all for being cognizant and for listening to the citizens. And I appreciate all the citizens that come out and raise their issues to this board. And hopefully you recognize that we do listen, and we do want to do what's best for the county, and we do want to take action on your issues if it's going to benefit the county. In most instances, it does. So just thank you all for coming out month after month, taking time to stand at that podium and give us your input and your insight and your desires for what we can do to make Leon County the best county that it can be. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. So I have some proclamations to ask for. First, I want to, as we all know, John Hogan has retired from CHP. I would like to create a proclamation for him. Motion made by Commissioner Meyer and seconded by Commissioner O'Keefe. Any objection? Seeing none, show it as approved. You're welcome. October Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Moved by Commissioner O'Keefe, seconded by Commissioner Caban. Any objection? Seeing none, show it as approved. They'll be presenting in a meeting. Volunteer Fire Truck Roundup Proclamation. Motion made by Commissioner O'Keefe, seconded by Commissioner Welch. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Keep it on your toes. All those opposed? Motion carries. They'll be presented October the 7th. Big Bend Minority and Enterprise Week Proclamation. Moved by the Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Caban. Any objection? Seeing none, show it as approved. National Friends of the Library Week. Moved by Commissioner O'Keefe, seconded by Commissioner Minor. Any objection? Seeing none, show it as approved. This has been a great meeting. We stretched it a little bit, but we got through it. It's good to be back. Look forward to seeing you guys in a couple weeks.
Oh, you right.
Yeah, man.